Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day and not having to deal with drama. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one. And don't forget to listen to the end of the story, guys, to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. I, 61 female, have been estranged from my only son, 33 male, for 5 years. He reached out a few weeks ago wanting to reconnect, but only because he found out I now own a beautiful beach house and he wants to use it for a family vacation with his wife and kids. When I said no, he got furious. Accused me of punishing his kids for something that wasn't their fault, said I was bitter and cruel, and that a real mother would want to see her grandchildren. So now I'm wondering, am I really the bad guy here? Let me explain everything. My husband passed away suddenly in a car accident when our son was only 2 years old. I was 28. One minute we were a young family with dreams. The next I was a widow with a toddler, no job, and a mountain of grief. I didn't have time to fall apart. I had a baby who needed me. So I worked. I worked hard. 2 jobs at some points. Secretary by day, cleaner by night. I didn't go out, didn't date, didn't have help. My parents were already gone and my siblings lived out of state, except my younger sister Marla, who would help occasionally when she could. I didn't complain. I was proud of the life I built for my son. We weren't rich, but I made sure he never lacked. He had new school supplies every year. He got braces when he needed them. I saved for his college even when I could barely afford rent. I missed meals, skipped haircuts, and went without so he wouldn't have to. He was a sweet boy, loving, thoughtful. He'd leave me little notes on the fridge saying he loved me. On Mother's Day, he made me breakfast with whatever he could find. I lived for those moments. But something changed when he met his now wife. He met Emily, fake name, in college. She came from a very wealthy, very controlling family. Her mother was a helicopter mom. Her father was bluntly classist. I never felt like I was enough in their eyes, never polished enough, rich enough, good enough. From the first time we met, Emily looked at me like I was something she scraped off her shoe. She never said anything directly cruel, but the way she spoke to me, fake smile, polite sarcasm, cutting remarks disguised as compliments, made it clear she didn't respect me. I noticed my son started acting differently after they got engaged. He didn't call as often. He canceled visits. When I asked about wedding planning, he said they were keeping it small. But when I saw the pictures online, I realized I wasn't even invited to the rehearsal dinner. At the wedding, I was seated at the far back corner, barely greeted. Emily's parents made a long toast about family legacies and generational wealth, and my son smiled along like it all made sense. It broke my heart, but I told myself it was growing pains. That marriage changes things. That maybe, eventually, he'd find his way back to me. I was wrong. 5 years ago, I lost everything in a house fire. An electrical fault sparked in the night while I was sleeping. A neighbor banged on the door and woke me up. I barely got out with my purse and phone. Everything else, gone. My clothes, furniture, photo albums, every single thing I owned. I was devastated. I called my son. My hands were shaking, my heart still pounding from the adrenaline. I told him what happened and asked if I could stay with them for a few weeks, just until I figured things out. There was a pause. Then he said, "I don't think that's a good idea." I thought I misheard. He repeated himself, said Emily wasn't comfortable with me staying there, said it would be disruptive to the kids, said I was an adult woman and should be able to take care of myself. I was in shock. He said maybe I should call Marla, that he'd check in soon. He never did. Marla took me in without hesitation. She lived 3 hours away, but she drove down the same day and brought me to her home. She gave me a warm bed, food, space to grieve. She helped me file insurance, apply for emergency aid, rebuild. She just helped and was there for me. We lived together for almost 5 years. She became my rock. We watched cooking shows, drank wine, talked late into the night. For the first time in years, I felt like I had real family again. Then last year, Marla was diagnosed with ovarian cancer. It was aggressive. It took her fast. Before she passed, she told me she was leaving me her beach house. She said, "You deserve something beautiful, somewhere you can breathe and relax. I cried so hard that day. The beach house is gorgeous. It's in a quiet coastal town with white sand, huge windows, and sea breeze every morning. It's old-fashioned but full of charm. It was Marla's pride and joy, and now it's my sanctuary. After everything I've been through, it's the first time I feel peace. I don't use it as a rental. I go there to read, to grieve, to sit in silence. Sometimes my closest friends visit. We drink coffee on the porch and watch the waves. It's my healing space. I hadn't heard from my son in 5 years. Then last month, out of nowhere, he reached out. His message was polite on the surface, but dripped with entitlement. "Hey Mom, I heard about the beach house. Emily and I were wondering if we could bring the kids down there for a vacation sometime this summer. Let me know which dates work." No apology, no acknowledgement, just demands. He ghosted me when I was homeless. And now that I have something beautiful, he thinks he gets to enjoy it. I replied, "No. The beach house is not available to you or your family. Please respect that." He replied within minutes, "Are you seriously punishing your grandkids over something that wasn't their fault? Emily and I thought you'd be happy to reconnect. You're being bitter." I said, "You made it clear 5 years ago that I was not welcome in your life. Please don't reach out again just because you want something from me." He exploded, called me selfish, cruel, said I'm twisting the past, and that I'm taking advantage of Marla's kindness to spite him. He said I'm denying his kids a relationship with their grandmother, and that I should be ashamed of myself. His children are not the problem. I'm sure they're lovely, but I'm not a vacation resort you only contact when it's convenient. He had 5 years to mend this, 5 years to say sorry, 5 years to show up. But now that I have something he wants, suddenly he remembers I exist. I'm done being treated like a backup plan. And yet, part of me feels guilty. I do miss him. I mourn the boy I raised. I mourn what could have been. And yes, I wish I had a relationship with my grandkids. But I'm not going to let myself be used just so he can play happy family on a beach I only got to call mine after burying my best friend. So Reddit, am I the a-hole for saying no? Not the a-hole. He didn't just close the door on OP. He locked it and left her in the cold during one of the worst moments of OP's life. And now that OP has something beautiful and valuable, he thinks he can waltz back in like nothing happened. No apology, no accountability, just entitlement. OP is not bitter. OP is finally done being used. And now let's hear community's opinion. I'm sorry, but you're not punishing your grandchildren. Their parents punished them when they severed their relationship with you. Your son made a deliberate choice to abandon you in a moment of crisis. You owe him nothing, especially not the one thing in your life that brings you peace. This beach house is your safe space. You don't need to turn it into a vacation rental for the people who treated you like trash. Not the a-hole. You didn't walk away. He did. You just finally stopped waiting for him to come back. The only time he reached out was when he wanted access to something you owned. Not to apologize. Not to reconnect. Not to repair the damage. Just to use you again. Anyone calling you bitter is just uncomfortable with your boundaries. Let them be uncomfortable. You earned this peace, not the a-hole, and proud of you. Some people hold bitterness like a badge. You know what? If that's what it takes to keep people like that out of your life, then wear that badge with honor. Your story isn't about revenge. It's about survival. You went through hell and came out whole. They don't get to barge back in and pretend it never happened. You didn't slam the door. You just stopped answering it. Not the a-hole all the way. I'm 35 male, low contact with most of my family for way more reasons that I have space for in this post. But the way my dad has always treated me is a big one. I'm married now, and my husband and I are pretty well off. My dad got remarried when I was a teenager. His 20th anniversary with my stepmom is next year. I guess they've been dropping hints they want to do something big to some of my siblings who are still around more. A couple of days ago, my stepsister called me. She asked what I wanted to do for our parents' anniversary. Honestly, I'm not planning on doing much of anything, but I was willing to talk to her if we were just talking about help planning or something. But then started saying things like, "Since you'll be paying for it," or "It's a good thing you can afford to go all out." I stopped her and said I had no intention of paying for the whole thing, and she went off on me. She said I was being a selfish a-hole. Then she said I could clearly afford it since my husband and I bought my mother-in-law a house a couple of years ago, and that I was the worst for picking his family over mine. And that's true, we did. But my husband's mom is also an amazing person. She was a teen mom and a single mom who raised my husband and his little sister by herself on crappy jobs. She's also just honestly one of the best people I've ever met and has been nothing but wonderful to me for a decade now. So yeah, we did buy her a house. But I don't see what that has to do with me paying for a party for my dad and stepmom. I told my stepsister that, and she said I was abandoning family. I said we might be able to pay for part of the celebration, but that made her angrier. I tried to say that it's not like the rest of my siblings are struggling. My stepsister and her husband make good money too. The only one of us who isn't pretty settled is my youngest sister, but she's also only 23. I tried to say again that we should all go in, but my stepsister snapped that since I don't have kids, my money goes a lot further, and that I don't understand how much more disposable income I have. The last thing she said to me was, "Your priorities are so screwed up. I can't believe his mom gets a house, but your own dad can't even get a party." She hasn't talked to me since, but other siblings are divided. My youngest sister is on my side. The rest of my siblings think she's right, and that I should foot the bill since I have the money to. I'm getting the impression they were all counting on me and my husband paying for it because we'd done the house thing for my mother-in-law. But I never said I would, and they all know me and my dad have serious strain in our relationship. I've got several people really mad at me now, though. Am I the a-hole for not paying? Not the a-hole. If I were you, I wouldn't pay a cent towards this whole thing, after they expected you to pay it all without even talking to you first. Not the a-hole. And it sounds like ditching the whole family and going no contact would be a New Year's resolution you could really enjoy. Also, maybe plan for a nice vacation with his family once travel is back in the mix. I'm glad you have wonderful in-laws and a lovely husband. Not the a-hole, but you will look like an a-hole unless you are very honest with everyone involved. Don't be passive-aggressive or try to deny what is happening. You are right, I am favoring my mother-in-law. I won't deny that at all. But my father was emotionally aggressive, and I have no intention of giving him money. My dad died 5 years ago, and his wife kept everything. At the time, perhaps naively, I figured that everything must have passed to her via a will or joint ownership. While we were not close, we had a decent relationship, and I had no reason to distrust her. However, I will admit that it bothered me that she never offered me any part of his estate. A few weeks ago, she told me that he had no will. She never filed probate, and the house is only in his name, bought before they were married. So she needs me to sign away my rights to it so she can sell it. She offered me $10,000 and sent a letter from a lawyer with paperwork. The letter insinuated that if things went to court, she could easily win all the equity in the house, but she was being generous by giving me the $10,000 to keep things simple. The legal statute that was attached seemed to contradict that argument. I consulted a few probate lawyers and confirmed that because only his name is on the deed, I'm entitled to half of the house. My half would be around $80,000 after selling costs and paying off the mortgage. When I questioned my stepmom about why I was never told about the house and that he had no will, I received a different story. According to her, they refinanced the house after their marriage, but the bank made a mistake and didn't add her to the deed. They refinanced again in 2015 and apparently still didn't fix it. She only now realized that she's not on the deed. If she was on the deed, I'd get nothing, but she's not, so I own half. Would I be the a-hole if I insisted on being given my half? Her lack of transparency in the letter from the lawyer has made it hard for me to trust her. But I also know I'm kinda angry that she feels entitled to everything of my dad's, which is skewing my perspective. In case this is relevant, she received a lot of life insurance money, so she is very financially comfortable. Shortly after he died, she started building oceanfront property and is set to move and retire there this year. She's 53. Not the a-hole. I find it hard to believe the bank made the same mistake twice. No mistake. Adding spouse to the deed is not required to refinance. Wife would only have been required to sign that if she had knowledge of and gave consent for the home being used as collateral. Curious as to where OP is, though, as typically in absence of a will, the spouse is the sole inheritor. Regardless, if lawyer says he's entitled to half the value, not the a-hole, get a lawyer and get what's yours. Not the a-hole. It sounds like she, and maybe her lawyer, are trying to do something shady. I wouldn't spend $30K plus in lawyer's fees to try to get all of what you're owed, but I would absolutely start the negotiation process by asking for your half, and be willing to take a little less than that. Not the a-hole. It sounds like she was fully aware she wasn't on it, and she knew she wasn't going to get all of the money to sell. So she is trying to give you hush and go away money so she can cash in $150K, only shorting herself $10K to get you to walk away with a mild threat that, if this goes to court, I'll win, so just do what I want and walk away. Yeah, don't let her get away with shafting you. You are an heir to your father's assets and estate as next of kin, and it's very likely she kept even more money from you than just the house, and you should definitely take her to court. I, female 35, married my husband, male 38, 2 years ago. He has a son named Caleb, age 15. His mom is super involved and shares custody of him with my husband. Caleb and I were doing fine at first, but after marriage, I noticed he's been wanting to do almost everything with his mom and exclude me. Even when it's my husband's time to have him, I'm excluded from any activities, and my husband would tell me to give it time. In the past, he'd get involved, but now he says I'm being too pushy. Caleb's 15th birthday party was last week. My husband said the party was going to take place at a park, but the problem is, Caleb wanted his mom there, and his mom refused to come unless I'm not there. I was in shock when my husband advised me to sit this one out. It's not like I'm there in every event. I didn't make a fuss. I said if that's what Caleb wanted, then why not? The day of the celebration, the birthday cake was ready from the bakery, and my husband called me telling me to pay for it. I asked why, and he said he didn't have any money to pay for it himself. I asked why Caleb's mom wouldn't pay, and he lashed out, rushing me to just go ahead and pay, and we'll discuss it later. I said no, I will not pay since I'm not even invited to the birthday. I hung up after he tried to start an argument. He came home fuming, saying he couldn't grasp how petty I was to refuse to pay for the cake, knowing he had no money. I said he never told me I had to pay, and also I'm not obligated to pay even when he's unemployed and can't afford it. He yelled at me saying I put myself above his son, and showed him that I'm fine with ruining his birthday. He stormed off and ended up getting cupcakes for the party. His sister called me and accused me of ruining Caleb's birthday when I could have just paid, and being uninvited wasn't an excuse to neglect my duty as a stepmom. My husband's still so mad about it, and said he just discovered a real petty side of me he never knew I had. Edited to add, it was a 4-layer cake with Caleb's favorite flavor and topping. The cost was $110. May not seem much, but my salary is barely covering everything in our home. Edited to add too, for the people who are asking why a $110 cake for a 15-year-old, I had no say in the matter. I didn't even know I was expected to pay for it. That was an instant no from me, and its cost was one of the reasons why I said no. Whoever ordered the cake should have made arrangements to pay for it, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Duties as a stepmother? Yeah, he needs to tell you exactly what those are and who gets to make that decision. If those duties are to pay for everything but get excluded from everything, it's past time for everyone to get some help with these relationships. Not the a-hole. 1. I'd ask what kind of 38-year-old man can't afford a birthday cake for his own kid. But you mentioned that he's unemployed, and that can happen to even the best of people. However, I will absolutely ask, what the heck kind of nearly 40-year-old husband and father models the absolutely reprehensible behavior for his teenage child of ordering a cake that he knows that he cannot afford, and apparently neither can the kid's mother, and demanding that his wife, the stepmother, whom the child and husband's former wife have rudely made entirely unwelcome from the party, pay for it? Not okay. Not in any circumstances. Teaching your kid that we not only take family members for granted, but that we use them for money and take advantage of them is, again, reprehensible. 2. Neglecting your duty as a stepmom? What? There is no such thing as your duty as a stepmom. It's a role that is entirely undefined at the outset and wholly negotiable within the context of each relationship. And there is absolutely no healthy marital or step-parent relationship that includes the demand, pay for things for me and my child, whilst we exclude you from what you are paying part of. None. 3. I suggest that you do, however, buy your husband a dictionary, because he is clearly confused about the meaning of the word petty. There is nothing petty about your refusal to participate in your own being taken advantage of. It is a very substantive and meaningful gesture. It speaks directly to your dignity and refusal to be mistreated. It is the opposite of petty. You are not the a-hole, but good luck. You're going to need it. I, 35 male, have an 11-year-old daughter with my ex-wife Carrie, 36 female. Me and Carrie met senior year of high school, dated throughout college, and had our daughter whenever she was in law school. At the beginning it was great, but after Carrie joined a firm, everything went to crap. I accepted her job would require long hours, but it just got worse. I was doing almost all the baby. She would just come home late, eat, watch some TV, and go to bed. Would show me no affection most nights. I felt like a live-in nanny, and I was working full-time too. I tried communicating, only to get lawyer talk back. All we would talk about was her work and the baby. Nothing about us or my job or life. I filed for divorce 4 years ago. Carrie went off about it whenever I informed her. She wanted to try therapy, something I suggested for years. In my opinion, she was mostly upset about losing her childcare arrangement and personal chef. The last few years, Carrie had become the woman empowerment type. She wants our daughter to be independent and successful, which I'm fine with obviously. But she's gone too far. She's got the short haircut and all the t-shirt slogans now. She's active on social media about causes. Good for her for finding a hobby, but I don't want that for my daughter. I don't bring that crap into my home. I raise my daughter to be whoever she wants. She can respect men and be independent. She can become a successful businesswoman or a wife and mother. She's just too young to be putting all this pressure on. I've been dating Lonnie, 28 female, for 2.5 years. She and my daughter are very close. Lonnie is more of the conservative home builder type. Lonnie has a couple tattoos and wants to get one of me, my daughter, and her on her arm sleeve. We're talking marriage and she is free to do whatever she wants with her body. I asked my daughter if she was okay, and she loved the idea. Lonnie and her are working on the design together, and it's bonding them more. I love it personally. My ex-wife found out and berated me. She had an issue with how I'm raising my daughter, how my girlfriend is promoting tattoos. She also said I don't care about my daughter because I don't help her study, which I told her isn't true. We do the homework quick so we can hang out and actually enjoy life, not shove our faces in books. Her grades are still great, just not all A's. Yes, education is important, but so is family. I told Carrie she is free to raise our daughter however she wants to at her place, but our house is about being a family and not being a cold robot. So maybe she should look in the mirror and ask why our daughter likes her stepmom so much. I'm not going to turn our daughter cold, and Lonnie can get whatever tattoo she wants. She called me an a-hole and threatened to contact with my attorney. I laughed and hung up. Am I the a-hole? Everyone sucks here. You and your ex-wife are a hot mess, and your kid is going to suffer. Get it together. The opinions you express about women and their roles are concerning, and even as a stranger, I'm worried about the long-term safety of your daughter. The fact that your new partner is planning to get a tattoo of your face makes me question her judgment and the health of your relationship. You're the a-hole, especially if you talk about your daughter's mother like this where she can hear. You say you're raising her to be whoever she wants, but your descriptions here are extremely far from value neutral. Putting effort into schoolwork isn't living like a robot. It's important. I'm calling you're the a-hole because you have a very dismissive attitude, and I don't believe for a second we've gotten the whole story. I, 16 female, live with my dad, 48 male, and his fiancée, 37 female, and her son, 17 male. I've been living with my dad since I was 10 and met his fiancée when I was 12. The other day when we were at my grandma's, dad's mother, house for the occasional visit. Before I go on and say what happened, in the situation that me and my dad's fiancée don't have a good relationship, so this type of thing was normal, but it always worked to make me jealous. So the conversation was on the topic of their wedding plans, and how she, the fiancée, hopes to make her son's girlfriend one of the bridesmaids. My grandma was initially confused on why she couldn't make me a bridesmaid, and then this bee said the most randomest thing ever in her usual snarky voice. Well, OP doesn't have a job, so she won't be able to afford the dresses I've picked for the bridesmaids. I was so angry at this point, and she knew this was a sensitive topic for me, as I had been applying to everywhere with my CV the last few months, and known I got rejected. I thought about how she never worked for anything in her life, and used and took advantage of my dad to the point of exhaustion with her spoilt background, applying to colleges but never making it past the year, saying it wasn't for me. I was still very much full of anger and just shut her down, yelling she was one to talk, and nothing but a brainless W who never worked for anything in her life, and that I can't believe my dad stooped so low for a crap high school diploma. Everyone looked at me shocked, including my dad, and it ended with my stepmom crying how it was a sensitive topic for her and that I didn't know anything, and I'm a sorry excuse for a daughter. Everyone stopped talking to me for the whole day. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She's clearly doing this despite you, and the fact that your dad doesn't see through this and reconsider his relationship with her speaks volumes about his character as well. The fact that she purposely alienated you while choosing his son's high school-aged girlfriend to be a bridesmaid shows that her rationale about you not having a job isn't the real reason you're being excluded. Not the a-hole, but I can't for the life of me figure out why the groom's daughter is expected to buy her own dress and isn't a part of the wedding party in any way, shape, or form. Your dad is the biggest a-hole in all of this, to be honest. I forgot what it's called, but there's this form of emotional manipulation that happens where someone makes these jabs at you privately and provokes you in public. When you take the bite in public, you end up looking crazy in front of everyone because it seems as though you're being erratic and it's coming out of nowhere. This is what I see happening here, so I say not the a-hole.